August 16th, 2026, the first official match of Manchester City's new era, and Arsenal smash Enzo Maresca's team 3-0 in the Community Shield. Guardiola is already gone. Bernardo Silva, John Stones, and Nathan Aké gone too. And 2 days later, Rodri completes his move to Barcelona. And this is where things start to get strange. You might think Pep left Maresca a team that was falling apart. But last season, City finished second in the Premier League and won both domestic cups, which means the new manager will still be expected to fight for the title immediately. But at the same time, the manager, the captain, the main controller of midfield, and several players who had known Guardiola's system almost by heart for years have all disappeared. So did Pep really leave Maresca an impossible job? It looks like the problem comes down to three things. He has no proper transition season, Rodri cannot be replaced by one player, and Maresca himself will have to preserve City's footballing language while proving that he is not simply a copy of Guardiola. Let's start with the main paradox. Manchester City are rebuilding, but nobody is going to allow them to look like a rebuilding team. Are they? Maresca's main problem is that Manchester City do not look like a team that should be allowed a transition season. Last year, the club finished second in the Premier League and won the FA Cup and the League Cup. So Guardiola did not fail at all. He left behind a team that is still expected to win trophies. But within just a few months, an enormous amount of experience disappeared from that team. Bernardo Silva was the captain. Stones spent 10 years in Pep's system. Aké provided versatility in defense, and now Rodri is gone too. Look at the almost perfect irony. Back at Chelsea, Maresca explained why it is difficult for a young team to immediately compete for major trophies. If you want to compete for important things, you need that time. 2 years have passed, and now he has taken over a team at the exact moment when a decade of stability has ended. The only problem is that nobody is likely to give him time to build a new system. And that is only the first problem. Because replacing several veterans is difficult, replacing Rodri is a completely different task. The biggest mistake is thinking that City simply need a new holding midfielder. Even after Rodri's injury in 2024, Guardiola said, "What he gives us, we don't have a similar player." And it is not just about winning the ball back. Rodri gave the defenders a safe first pass, controlled the tempo of attacks, covered the space behind the attacking players, and stopped counterattacks before the opposition could reach the center backs. That is exactly why everyone else could take much bigger risks. So buying one new Rodri is practically impossible. City have already paid £116 million for Elliot Anderson, but the club itself describes him more as an energetic box-to-box midfielder. At the same time, City are considering Ayyoub Bouaddi and are interested in Enzo Fernández. And that hints at Maresca's solution. Replacing Rodri with one player is impossible, so his work has to be distributed between several players. Yes, in that case, the structure of the entire team will have to change. And the first official match has already shown just how difficult that is. Without Rodri, Arsenal regularly played through City's midfield, and after losing the ball, the team looked much less protected. So, how is Maresca going to rebuild the system without becoming a copy of Guardiola? And that is exactly why City's choice makes more sense than it might seem. For Maresca, this is already his third spell at the club. In 2020, he took charge of the elite development squad and won Premier League 2. Then he returned as Guardiola's assistant and was part of the coaching staff during the 2022-23 treble season. So City have appointed someone who does not need the club's principles explained to him from scratch. Maresca already knows how they build attacks here, control space, and work with the ball. After the first training sessions, Phil Foden even admitted, "It's very similar to how we played under Pep." But Maresca himself immediately drew an important line. "I'm not here to copy someone." And the differences are already appearing. At Chelsea, he showed that he does not automatically have to move the fullback into midfield. Sometimes the defender kept the width while the winger moved inside. So we get an interesting balance. City want to preserve Guardiola's footballing language, but rewrite it around new players. And Maresca may know that language better than most of the available coaches. But does that really mean his job is as terrible as it looks? Let's look at the other side of the story. The problem with this version is that Manchester City still have resources most managers can only dream of. Maresca still has Haaland, Foden, Ruben Diaz, Gvardiol, and Donnarumma. The club have already spent £116 million on Elliot Anderson alone and are continuing to work in the market. So it is simply impossible to call this squad weak. What is more, the departure of the old leaders could even help Maresca. This is already an interpretation, but the logic is clear. It is easier for him to build his own team when the dressing room is less attached to the habits of the previous manager. And most importantly, the sample size is practically non-existent so far. As of August 19th, Maresca has not managed a single Premier League match. The Community Shield was his only official game, and preparations were additionally disrupted by the World Cup. There are questions about the manager himself as well. His spell at Chelsea ended against the backdrop of worsening results and a serious conflict with the club's hierarchy. So if City fail, it will not be possible to simply say, Pep left him an impossible job. Part of the responsibility will inevitably lie with Maresca himself. So it is finally time to answer the main question. So did Pep Guardiola leave Enzo Maresca an impossible job? Probably not. But he did leave him with one of the most thankless jobs in European football. City are still strong enough for people to demand a title from this team. But at the same time, they have lost Guardiola, their captain, several of their most experienced defenders, and most importantly, Rodri, the player around whom their control of matches had been built for years. So Maresca has to do two things at the same time: rebuild Manchester City and act as if there is no rebuild happening at all. At the same time, the club did not choose him by accident. He knows Guardiola's system from the inside, but he has already shown at Leicester and Chelsea that he can build teams of his own. So for now, my answer is this. Did Pep leave Maresca an impossible job? No, but it is a job with almost no room for area. And the Community Shield only showed the scale of the problem. The Premier League will give us the real answer. By the way, ask yourself this. Would you take a job like that if everything except the title was considered a failure?